Howdy-o, it's Shroomy, and if you've been keeping up with the channel, you probably know that I'm playing every single Animal Crossing game every single day in the year 2022. And as part of that, I spend a heck of a lot of time doing dailies. It's dailies after dailies after dailies for every single game. So I thought it might be fun today to kind of share that experience with you by making a video about all the dailies across all the games, and so you get to see how the dailies have built up over the year to get to the point that in New Horizons you can probably spend an hour a day just doing your dailies. That is if you choose to do all the dailies that are available. Obviously, in my case, I try to do things as quick as possible every day, so I am not doing every single daily available for every single game. I'm doing the ones that make the most sense for me and like switching them out over time. As I finish one daily, then I can move to working on a different daily kind of a thing. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it, starting with all games dailies. First off, there's checking your mail and the bulletin board to see any goings-on in town. Then there's fossils. In the case of GameCube, I think there's 6 a day. I know I've dug up 6 a day, but I don't know if there's rollover if you don't get the 3 before, and that's why I dug up 6. Anyway, Wild World and City Folk definitely have 3 in them, and New Leaf and New Horizons are definitely 4 fossils. And while you have your shovel out, might as well go around smacking rocks trying to get that money rock, which in GameCube you can get 13,300 from, which is pretty nice. In Wild World, it's around 8,000. In City Folk, it's also around 8,000 unless you have a silver shovel, then you can change things up there. And then in New Leaf, it's 16,000. It's really nice. Then New Horizons is 16,000. With the middle 3 games, you can get more depending on your feng shui and luck for the day, but for the most part, those are the values you'll be getting. And of course, one of the main dailies is Nooks, seeing what items have come in for the day. And if you're in the first 4 games, while you're there, you better buy flowers or saplings because you only get a few each day. And while you're at Nooks in every single game, it's worthwhile to check the turnip prices that day, if you're in the market, that is. And of course, there's visitors. Although in the first 4 games, they don't come every single day. It's probably about 3 times a week you get a visitor, whereas in New Horizons, you can expect a visitor every single day. Then there's pulling weeds. The first 4 games, 3 weeds spawn a day, so you can seek them out. New Horizons, technically, you don't have to pull weeds unless you don't like the aesthetic, because they don't count against your town. The other thing all the games have in common is shaking down trees for that furniture. Most games have 2 or 3 pieces of furniture up in the trees during the day, and of course, about 5 wasps' nests, which you might also need if you're trying to get wasps, and $100 belt bags can be shaken from trees, but you know, it's not really worth the effort. The first 4 games have the Lost and Found, where you can go and lie to sweet little Booker and tell him that you lost that item, even though you know you didn't lose that item, but he's still gonna be all like, yeah, sure, I believe you, you can have it. Although, technically, you can leave items out, and they will pick them up and have them there in Lost and Found, but for the most part, if you're not leaving items willy-nilly, you're still in someone's stuff when you do this. Which is probably why they got rid of it in New Horizons. And lastly, the one commonality across all the games is Sable. In every single game, if you talk to her every day, you unlock a little bit of the story. In GameCube, it's just for funsies. In Wild World, you unlock being able to do their memories later on by talking to her for 12 days. Then in City Folk, it unlocks 10 episodes revolving around the Able sisters' relationship with LaBelle. And in New Horizons, it unlocks the ability to scan QR codes, and you get a mannequin from talking to her regularly. Then in New Horizons, of course, you get those nice little patterns from her. Okie dokie, onto GameCube, and it's unique dailies. Number 1, which goes along with the fossils you dug up earlier, whether that's 3 or 6, is you gotta mail them to the museum. Blathers does not have the ability to assess them in this game. So every day you're grabbing paper and mailing off fossils, which, by the way, one of the best ways to get paper for free is the dump in nice red letters. Every day 2 items spawn in the dump, so you better check those out. Of course, it's only taken out twice a week, so as long as you get to it before it empties. And glow spot. There's a glow spot every day in town. You dig it up for your 1,000 bells, and you can bury it If it's in a good spot, you're guaranteed to triple your money, but if it's in a bad spot, the tree will just die. And you can't really tell which are good or bad spots. However, another use for the glow spots is to bury a shovel, and if you do, a golden tree sprouts from which you'll get a golden shovel. In my playthrough right now, I've been doing it every day because I want my town covered in golden trees. And lastly, for GameCube, there's favors for your villagers. You can go to all 15 of your villagers and ask them if they have a favor you can do for them. In this game, it's not really about building friendship in order to get photos because there's no photos. It's more just to get items from them. They'll give you something as a reward, and it's normally a pretty good thing. I think in later games, the stuff they give back as a thank you is kind of crappier. But in this game, you actually get really good things. Like, I've gotten things that you can only get from Nook's lottery, which are really hard to obtain items, so they make it worth your while to help them out. And in order to get all 15 people to move in, you do need to be chummy with your town folks for a bit and like do them favors and things. And getting all 15 will unlock another bridge in your town, so that's also why it's worthwhile. Now on to Wild World, and in a way onto City Folk, because they share so many of the same new dailies. Number 1 is the recycling bin that replaces the dump. And there's not a guaranteed that there'll be something in here every day, but you do want to check it before it gets emptied, because the villagers do love yeeting their crap. Number 2 is the Able Sisters shop. Yes, in GameCube there was an Able Sisters shop, but it was just for pattern making, not for buying clothing. So in Wild World and City Folk, you can go to them for your wonderful shirts and accessories and hats. 3 is watering flowers. In Wild World, they introduced hybrids, and with that, they introduced flowers dying. So now if you get one of these browned out flowers, you have to water it, otherwise it's gonna die. And of course, you can water to up your chance of hybrids, but they're really hard to get either way. And the roost was introduced in this game, so coffee is now a daily, and that goes on for the next 4 games. And Wild World is just a fun little thing you do. You don't get anything for getting coffee, but in City Folk, if you regularly get coffee, he opens up the glorious power of being able to store gyroids with him. Then in New Leaf, your reward for frequenting the roost is that you can get coffee to go. And then if you can continue after that, you can actually work at the roost. So that becomes a daily for New Leaf, is going in and working for Brewster. And that just gets you rewards the better you are at your work. However, in New Horizons, you can get rewards just by coming and getting the coffee. I think on 50 different days gets you all the rewards, so it's worth it to keep coming back. And while you're at the museum getting coffee, you might as well swing by Blathers and get those fossils assessed. Yes, in Wild World, they introduced the ability to get them assessed with Blathers, and of course that continues on through the rest of the games. And lastly, in Wild World, they introduced the ability to change your hair, and you can only do it once a day, so if you're someone who really likes to change your look, you gotta be in there every day. And the whole hair thing continues through City Folk and New Leaf. You only have 1 chance every day to get your hair done. On to City Folk and all its little special daily things. They all relate to the city. So you go to the city and you can get your fortune read, and that's also a daily in New Leaf and New Horizons. For City Folk and New Horizons, you don't have luck set at the beginning of the day, so that makes your luck. And then in New Leaf, it tells you your luck and it tells you how to improve it so you can have better luck throughout the day. Honestly, they're not that important. I think New Horizons is the only one where I would daily go to Katrina, because if you get a bad luck fortune and you pay for her to fix it, she sends you one of her exclusive items in the mail. However, you can buy these items out of the catalog once you have them, so it's probably easier to trade online than to bother going through all that bad fortune. But it is a way to get the 12 zodiacs that you normally get from New Year's. Obviously, a lot of us won't be playing all 12 years, so it's a way to be able to get them now without time traveling 12 years forward. Oh, I take that back, kind of. There is a reason to visit Katrina daily in New Leaf after you move her into your main street, and that is to get 2 lucky hats. If you get a bad fortune, she offers to sell you either the Tingle Hood or the Celebration hat for 10,000 bells. They always give you good luck if you're wearing them, so I guess maybe worth it. Oh, and when it comes to visitors, so you have your town visitors in City Folk, but then you also have your city visitors. So for the most part, it's not worth it to visit the city every day, but if you're trying to get one of these visitors, then you might want to check in. And it's Kix, who shines your shoes. There's 5 different shoes he can shine them into. Phineas, who gives out balloons and other little fun treats, and then Gracie, which the only reason you're gonna want her is if you're ready to buy her items. If you pass a fashion check, then that allows you to get a discount on everything in her store, which you need because it's so expensive. So yeah, you might want to visit daily to get a chance to see one of those people. I mean, I'm 3 months in, I visit once a week, and I have not seen Phineas once. I see Kix a lot though, and I've seen Gracie a couple times. Oh, there's also Dr. Shrunk's show. I wouldn't say it's a daily that most people do because you can only hold 4 emotes, so maybe once you get the emotes you want, you kind of be done with it. But if you want to see all the different emotes or just change yours out regularly, you can go see what emotes are available that day. There's also Red in this city, but he changes out every week, so he's not really a daily. And Gracie also has tons of items she's selling, but they change out every 3 months, so definitely not a daily. And lastly, in the city, you can check for Rossetti. His pad is located there, and randomly, this is a very rare event, the caution cones move to the side, and you can go meet Rossetti in his little lair. Not only is it cute, but he gives you a silver shovel, and you can use a silver shovel to make a little bit more money hitting rocks every day. And that brings us to New Leaf. New Leaf has a lot of unique dailies just because it has so many shops. So just a quick going down Main Street, there is the museum gift shop that changes its wares out daily. Kix does, he sells shoes and socks. You want to go to Leaf's because he has a different house plant every day and sells fertilizer, and the flowers and saplings are limited, so you want to grab all you can if you're trying to get a bunch in your town. Also, you do want to buy a sapling from Leaf every day. I think it takes 50 of them, and then he gives you the golden axe. He's like, okay, you proved you cared about the trees. Here's your golden axe. And down the road is Tom Nook's exterior shop. So every day he changes out what exteriors you could have for your house, and you can like pick and choose. And along with Nook, Lyle is in there, so I regularly check in with him to see if he has any gossip for me. It turns out the gossip he gives about people on Main Street is linked to your HHA score. So if you're not changing anything in your house, you definitely don't need to see him every day. But after you do a significant change in your house, you do want to see him, I think, 2 days after he gives you some gossip. And further down on Main Street is Dr. Shrunk. You'll want to go there daily and give him a piece of fruit to get an emote, which there are 40, so that'll have you coming back for a while. And lastly on Main Street, well, besides Katrina getting your fortune read, but we mentioned that with City Folk, there is the Dream Suite. You do get 5,000 bells for uploading your dream, so some people choose to do that daily. And moving on to shops in the town, there's Harv's campsite. Every day he has 2 unique items, and there's also an RV that pulls up and you can buy items from that. And speaking of Harv's campsite, you can also scan an amiibo that you can buy items from. So these are either the statue amiibo or the welcome amiibo RV cards that you can scan. And you can only do 1 a day, and then an RV will pull up and you can buy from it. Or if you're not feeling like items, you can scan in a villager and have them move in, but that's only 1 a day. And of course, as mentioned, there's going to the roost for your coffee and also to work your part-time job. And the last shop in town is retail. You might want to go here regularly to see what items are for sale. This is kind of this game's version of the recycling bin or dump. This is where villagers put the items they no longer want. But for them to keep putting items up, you need to buy the old items, so it's good to regularly clear some space, and this is the only way to get sloppy and cardboard items, so it's good to keep the shelves open. Then as mayor, your 1 daily is public works projects. You can only build 1 a day, so if you're trying to pop them out, you gotta get that one in. Of course, that only lasts for 30 days because there's only 30 projects, unless you go demolish them later. And if you need money to pay for those public works projects, there's going to the island as a daily. The island changes what games they offer every day and what items they're selling every day. So it's good to check in, see if any of the games are ones you want to play, or see if there's any items you want to buy. And New Leaf is the game where Pascal takes to the ocean and you find him by finding a scallop. So that is another daily. Get out there, find the scallop, and have little Pascal pop up and give you a piece of pirate furniture. And of course, that continues into New Horizons, and Pascal is a daily there. If you're trying to build up the Mermaid series or just get pearls, or even just Words of Wisdom. I know this is like the most dumb, geeky thing ever, But literally, I used to find Pascal every day in New Leaf for like 3 months just because I wanted his words of wisdom. Cool, you only need to talk to him like 12 times for all the items, but I saw him regularly. Ooh, one unique feature to New Leaf is the gem rock. Every day a new rock would spawn, and when you broke it, a gem would pop out. And that was just some extra cash, or you could use them to customize items. And lastly, there's doing your villagers favors. So these villagers, they can ping you for favors, but for the most part, if you walk up to them and just be like, hey, let's chat, they'll ask you to do something for them. About half of them do it every day. And so that's good to do, just to build up friendship. And I think it makes them more likely to suggest public works projects. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it's definitely like what I've believed for a long time. I've never fact checked it, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Either way, it's good to be nice to them, right? And if you're trying to get their photos, you want to grind for favors. And finally, New Horizons, which has so many dailies. It has a lot of the past games dailies that I already mentioned, and so many of its own. So for New Horizons, starting in Town Hall. So once a day you can choose to move a building, and once a day you can choose to build a bridge or an incline or destroy them. You can also change your exterior once a day, but I don't really consider that a daily because who's regularly doing that? At the beginning of the game, I feel like you're constantly moving buildings or building ramps or bridges or whatever and just waiting for the next day. In the ABD, you gotta get on there daily to collect those Nook miles. And while you're there, you gotta check those Nook Mile rewards, see what 2 fences are in for the day. And then, of course, there's Nook Shopping. It has that little section where you get a different KK song every day and just a little array of items that you can't get any other way. I recommend as a daily buying 5 things from the catalog. Even if I don't know what I'm going to do with the items, I just try to buy 5 a day just because it's so limiting having only 5 and just stock them up in storage for when I am ready to do a big build. Think about the basics, what I'll need in the future. And speaking of Nook Miles, you want to do your Nook Mile pluses every day. It's a good way to rack up those Nook Mile points, especially the first one, which is ×5. You really want to do that one. And with all those Nook Miles, you can take a magic Cap'n ride off to Mysterious Island. Those are nice to do daily just to see what you're gonna roll. Maybe you'll get a really nice rare island and be able to wish on stars or whatever. But if not, you do get another DIY recipe and a gyroid. If not 2 gyroids. Then once you have your feet back planted on your island, there's group stretching, which you want to do daily, I think 50 times, and then you finally unlock all the different prizes for it. And coffee is another one you got to do 50 different times. And definitely some serious dedication. And what also takes dedication is getting all the DIYs. So daily there are 3 villager DIYs you can get. They're spaced 3 hours apart, so you gotta log in like every 3 or more hours, 3 times a day to grab those and check all the houses. There's also scanning an amiibo in every single day to the campsite just to talk to them and get a DIY from them. This is what I do just because you can pick what personality it is and they aren't giving you any food ones, so this is a good way to try and like target the ones you're looking for. And of course there's your beach bottle DIY every day, and I think there's actually 2 every day depending on how early you play in the morning and then how late you go at night. And speaking of night, it's worth it to get on every night and look for your night visitors. Wisp or /Anne Celeste can randomly show up any weekday night. And unlike the past 3 games, we're no longer watering flowers to keep them alive, but in New Horizons, you might want to water them if you want to hurry along your hybrid process. Honestly, New Horizons is so nice about hybrids. One of the easiest games to breed in. You just gotta regularly water them. And in New Horizons, they brought back the money spot from GameCube, so definitely check that out for 1,000 bells. And if you bury 10,000, you're guaranteed to triple that, so that's nice. If you bury 30,000, you're like playing your luck if you're gonna get your money back or not. And this is one that you can do daily, but I'm sure not many people do. It's harvest all the materials in your town. It seems like much. I would definitely recommend going for the rock ones, but like all the trees, like most people probably just harvest as you need, you know? And lastly, for things you need to do in your own town is cozy on up to your villagers, talk to them, every day and give them a present every day, and you'll be on your way to getting their photo. And that brings us to Harv's Island, where right after the 2.0 update, if you talk to Harriet every day, she would give you a different hairstyle. I mean, this goes by pretty quick. There's only like 6 or 8 hairstyles, but it is a daily until that's run through. Another short-lived daily is paying for all of the shops to move in, 100,000 each. And most of the people in the plaza, their stuff changes out weekly. However, there is Katrina, which I already mentioned, that you can go daily to get a fortune if you're trying to get those items. And then there's Red. For the most part, he doesn't change out his supply, but if you do buy a painting the day before, the next day he's going to replace it. So as long as you keep buying from him, there will be a new thing the next day. And on to the Happy Home Paradise Island, which I feel is like its own game with how many dailies it has. It's honestly kind of surprising because you don't think of like your Happy Home Paradise dailies, but there are a lot. So all the ones I'm going to be talking about are once you reach 30 houses done. I believe more dailies might unlock, maybe, question mark? Not entirely sure than 30, but I'm just going to talk about the ones that are all unlocked by 30. The first one you unlock is, of course, the Happy Home Paradise office and the items for sale in there. There you get an additional 5 items every day, and eventually you unlock being able to buy any item you used in build from Wardell. So that's another case going back to buying the max items you can from your catalog every day. If you have the pokey for it, maybe go buy 5 items every day that you're interested in from Wardell. The bottle on the beach. Eventually you build the school, and the daily there is to go in and get the bush that is exclusive to the island. Next up, you build either the restaurant or cafe. If you go to the cafe every day, it offers a different mix of drinks and foods. I think it only takes about 5 days to see all the different foods and drinks they offer, but it is a nice, easy way to buy more stamina. However, the restaurant is much more valuable. Every day, if you go back to the kitchen and talk to the chef, he offers you a food recipe. Then, of course, after the restaurant and cafe is the hospital. The daily here is not one I would frequent, but you can go see the doctor and tell them your symptoms, and then they give you an item to help with that symptom. In this case, I got a little tissue that twisted up my nose. In other cases, you can get like a cast and things. But honestly, I think eventually all these show up in the Able Sisters, so you don't necessarily have to do it, but it's kind of cute. And the last facility you make on the island is, of course, the clothing store, and it does change its stock daily. And you can tell it what like kind of style you want the stock to be. So kind of worth checking out. It's only 6 items, so it's definitely pales in comparison to what the Able Sisters offer. But if you want the exclusive like KK Glow collection, it's only sold in their shop. So anytime KK's doing his jams out there in the ocean, drop by the shop to get those exclusive items. And lastly, for the island, there's a subplot where Nico needs materials to explore his DIY self, and you definitely want to fulfill those requests on the daily, because as you do, that gives you the ability to craft pillars and counters and such with those exteriors. So that is a good daily to be keeping up on, even though it's kind of annoying to give up your painstakingly gathered materials. So there you have it. All the dailies that my brain could think of. Honestly, I know I have had to have missed some, because I was like, yep, there's a comprehensive list. Then I went to record footage and I was like, oh shoot, there's that, and there's that, and there's that, and there's that. So there's bound to be some I missed. If I did miss any, let me know down below. Also, I want to know what you may have discovered from all this list, where there's ones you didn't know about that you were like, oh, I'm going to start doing that now. Or, what are the dailies you're currently doing? I know I still need to finish up the coffee one in New Islands on my main island, and the group stretching one, but there's some I've moved on from, like I'm done with all the gyroids, so I'm done with Captain's Island. And of course, as always, I hope you have the loveliest of lovely day. Until next time, bye bye.